Hello, this is Annie with Seed System Solution. And in this video today, I will walk you through the process of doing an inventory return back to a vendor and how to then create the vendor credit memo. And if they return a payment, the vendor return payment. To start, you're first going to want to create a new work order type for vendor returns if you don't already have one. To do that, you can go to your main menu, go to System Settings, go to Advanced Settings, and then go to the Inventory Shipping tab. If you do not see these menu options I am referencing today, please contact your admin user for Seed System Solution within your organization to inquire about getting access. In your work order types portal, you are going to need to have this allow users to add checkbox for the first time a new work order is created with that type. After that, you can uncheck that, and then we would not be able, our users would not be able to add new work order types. So you're going to scroll down to the very bottom, there'll be a blank line. I already have a vendor return set up, so I'm not going to set up a new one, but you would just click into this box and type in your new work order type. I named mine vendor return, but it does not have to be the exact same name. Return to vendor or anything of that sort can be used. It's just your own unique name. Next, you're going to select the hide make option, as you're going to want to make sure that it is only a discard work order and users can't create new inventory from this work order. And then you'll want to make sure it's active. If for some reason somebody shouldn't be able to close this work order type, you can open the gear icon and select those jobs who cannot complete this work order type. Once you've created the work order, work order type, you can leave your system settings by using your back logo. Next, we're going to want to search for the inventory that we are returning. So from your main menu, if you go to inventory, you can then filter for your specific inventory that you need to return. Once you found your inventory, you're going to open the gear icon that is next to your inventory line. If this is the first line you're creating that is being returned, you're going to want to create a work order. If you've already have a work order created and you're adding additional lines or additional inventory to it, then you would use your add to work order and you would select your work order from the list. Since it's the first line, I'm going to create a new work order and I'm going to choose the vendor return type. It's going to open your work order screen now. You can adjust your quantity if needed. So if you're not returning the entire quantity on hand, you can select the line, use the edit pencil, and you can change your quantity amount, as well as you could add any line notes that you need to add at this point. Once we've saved that line, if you have any additional lines, you again can use that by closing this work order and going back to inventory and selecting additional lines and using the gear icon and selecting this now vendor return from that add to work order option. Or from your take site here, you can use the plus button and you can search for additional inventory lines. If you're not seeing it, just make sure your location isn't set to another location or remove it altogether in order to search all locations. From here, I always recommend adding notes to your work order overall so you know why you did this work order if you need to reference it down the line. You can fill in any tracking information if you need to. But most importantly, while we're here, we want to take note of two things. First, your account number over here, which in my instance is 993. And then the second is your value that you're returning. So your overall work order value that's going to get set. So in my instance, this $10,000. Once we have that information, we can complete our work order to discard this inventory from our work order or from our inventory. If you didn't want to create that new work order type, you can create just a straight discard work order or an inventory correction or physical adjustment work order. However, I recommend creating the new type so you have that as a filter option later on if you ever need to do a quick find as to what inventory was returned to a vendor. If we need to print any documents such as a BOL or just a printout, we can do that from our hamburger menu. And then we can complete our work order to finally discard this from our inventory. Select your completion date and press continue. It may give you a notice that it's out of balance. That is accurate as there is only one side. Once that is complete, we can leave our work order. It may take us back to our inventory screen. From here, though, we're going to search in our main menu, and we're going to go into that vendor to create a vendor credit memo. So from your main menu, select vendor, and then search for your vendor. Open up your vendor detail if it didn't open by default. And we're going to go over to our transactions tab. From our transactions tab, we're going to hit the plus button to create a new vendor credit memo. On our vendor credit memo, again, we're going to want to add notes so we know later on why we did this vendor credit memo. We can change our dates here. And on our accounts tab, we're going to hit the plus button. And we're going to look for that account that we just used on that work order. So again, this is why I said to make note of it when we are on the work order, because we want to set our account on our vendor credit memo as that same account that was used on that vendor return work order. And the value is going to be the same as that value on the work order. And you can add line notes if you would like. And we're going to save that line. Now, if the return credit is going to be different from what that work order value was, you can add additional lines here to the appropriate accounts to get your overall balance to match what your actual return credit is going to be. If you have open invoices that you're applying this credit against and they aren't submitting you a payment back, you can apply this memo to open invoices or open bills. Sorry, not open invoices, but open bills from that vendor by opening your hamburger menu and selecting apply credit. And then within that, selecting that open bill that you have. If though they are going to submit you a payment back from your vendor page on your plus button, you're going to select return payment. It's going to look very similar to a customer payment screen. Your vendor is going to be filled in. You can enter in that check number from your vendor or write ACH or if wire, if they're submitting an electronic payment to you. What that payment type is, so we know whether to deposit it or not, and the amount that they're returning back to you. If there is going to be a fee associated where the amount of the credit is not the same that will be deposited, you would enter that into this credit card fee slot here. Next, we're just going to select the open vendor credit memo that we're going to apply this against. And we can then leave this payment. To deposit this check that we received from the vendor is going to be the same way as depositing a customer payment. We're going to hit the add button and select deposit. If you don't have this as an add option, you can also do this from the menu, reports and accounting reports, and the check register. In your hamburger menu, there's a way to add a deposit from there. Once on our deposit screen, we would select our deposit date. Our bank we're going to deposit to, and then we would select our payment that we received from that vendor. And then to save the deposit, we would just use the logo and select OK on the message that pops up. If you have any further questions about Seed System Solution, please reference our other training videos. Email us at grow@seedsystem.co, or you can register for our free monthly Seed System support Zoom meetings.